Every company needs an accountant.
Take opportunities, be open to learning, have fun.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Wow, I actually have more insight on accounting.
Welcome to this episode of Accounting Plus. I am your host, Hunter Walden, and I am welcomed here with Ms. Clarencia Taylor, who is a senior manager at Deloitte & Touche LLP, as well as Mr. Zach Lane, who is a senior audit associate at Grant Thornton. So, Ms. Taylor, how would you say your experiences earlier in your career have shaped the really epitome of your career?
I would say, well, first, how I even chose accounting was I did a career assessment when I was a senior in high school because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I went to college. And from that assessment, and I like challenges, puzzles, things that help me think critically. And so from the assessment, it said that I should either be a math teacher or an accountant. And I didn't want to be a math teacher, so I chose accounting. And so that was how I got into the accounting realm. And one of the biggest things I tell people was like, it's been life-changing from, going to college, working for, one of the top accounting firms in the world. It's been an amazing experience.
So, Zach, take us through your accounting journey. What are some pivotal aspects or experiences that have really shaped your accounting world?
Yes. So for me, accounting was a second career. I got into accounting after spending roughly a decade working in nonprofit and human services. So I went to a conference while I was working in the nonprofit space, and they were talking about if you're considering a career change, here are some things you need to consider. And during that career session, one thing is to think about, well, what are some of your strengths and what are some things you like to do? So accounting was something that came to mind, and I just started to research what are some ways to get into accounting if you don't have an accounting background. So when I started researching graduate programs, my graduate program, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, they had accounting degrees specifically for people who didn't have a background in accounting, but who wanted to transition into accounting. So when I saw that program, I knew that was a great way for me to get that transition into accounting. So I pursued that degree from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and that was how I got my start into accounting with that career change.
Okay. So you noted that you didn't start in the realm of accounting. So what do you think made you make that decision to choose accounting for where you wanted to venture off to?
Yeah, so again, it came down to when I looked at my strengths and my passions. And when I just started to do more research about the accounting field in general, I knew that that was something I wanted to pursue. Also in undergrad, I did take a general accounting class, and that was how I got my very first exposure to accounting as a freshman in college. I just took that general business accounting class, and I really liked the class. I did well in it, but I didn't really think much of it after that. But again, when I started to think about the career shift and then started thinking about numbers, I just related back to that class in accounting. And I said, I remember taking an accounting class. I really liked it, so let me give that a shot. So that was ultimately how I stumbled upon accounting career when I knew I wanted to make the career change.
So, Clarencia, how did your personal interests and early career experiences really shape the dynamic of your accounting career?
It shaped my career in accounting because what I like to do personally is serve and help the community. That's a big part of who I am and my purpose and my passion. And so how I tie that into what I do each and every day is how I serve from on the audit side is really focused on the financial statements and making sure that I am there for my client. I'm supporting my client, and also on the advisory side, just being there as their strategic advisor and helping them think through what's next, how do we fix this, and just being their support system and being, their right-hand person.
So, Clarencia, take us into your accounting career. What were some pivotal moments that really shaped the dynamic of what led you to really choose accounting?
So accounting was a natural fit for me. Again, I love a challenge. And so being able to do something each and every day, something new, something challenging, something different. And also I enjoy technical accounting. So researching, coming up with an answer, taking my client on the journey of how we got there. And it just fits into what I like to do.
Right. So when you came into the field of accounting, were you actually surprised of how little math was actually in the field of accounting?
Yeah, so math is involved, but there are a lot of other things that are involved with auditing and accounting as well. Similar to what Clemency said, it is a lot of research. It's a lot of technical areas that you have to research and get more familiarized with. So it's reading, it's research, it's trying to understand different complex areas. So math is one component of accounting, but there are a lot of other facets as well that I learned once I got into the accounting, that it's not just numbers, it's a lot of other things that are involved as well.
So, Clarencia, as you reflect on your career path, can you share some unexpected twists or challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I would say one of the twists that I didn't understand coming into accounting was how I can bring my passion with accounting. It's easy for people to think like, oh, all you all do is debits and credits.
Yeah.
And a big part of what I've been able to bring into my day to day is my passion of helping people and serving people. Because accounting already has a stereotypical of it may be boring or, so many things that what people say. And what we help people understand is that accounting is fun. There's so many different aspects of accounting. And so through that, I'm able to go to high schools and go to college universities and really help them understand the different aspects of accounting and what then the different fields that they can go into, different industries, all the things that come with accounting that people just naturally don't know.
So now for you, Zach, as you reflect on getting into accounting, what would you say were some challenges or some twists that you experienced when actually getting into the accounting world?
So I would say the biggest challenge is, again, not coming from an accounting background. When I first just started with the firm and working on different clients, just learning the different client industries that they're on and just familiarizing myself with their business. Because in order to be an effective auditor, you need to understand your client's business.
Okay. So getting into something that you didn't have much experience in, did you face any type of imposter syndrome?
No, I did not. I always felt confident in my skills and abilities. Also, at the firm, we have mentors and coaches who are always there for us if we have questions. So whenever I had things that I wasn't too sure about, I would always reach out to my career coaches and mentors just to pick their brains and just ask them for insight and questions on if they've experienced things that I've experienced. And they were always willing to share their experiences with me and give me helpful tips and advice throughout my career. So I never had imposter syndrome. I've always felt confident. And if I didn't feel confident about something, I knew I had people that I can go to in the firm who can help guide me and give me the resources I need to be successful.
I guess I'll jump in on that one because I did have imposter syndrome coming in. And I think and one of the things I tell people is like knowing who you are. And I had to kind of, because like you said, he would ask a lot of questions or he would go to his mentors. I was scared to say what I didn't know. Even though they tell you to ask questions, that was something that I shied away from because I didn't want someone to think that, okay, why is she here? How did she get here? And so, it goes into like how people show up and support you. And so I had to get out of my own head. And once I did that, I was able to show up as my best self.
Right. And I'm sure similar to Grant Thornton, Deloitte has different practices that help you from a mentoring perspective.
Oh yes, when you come in, you get a mentor who's either you get a partner that's going to support you. You get a manager and the seniors that are there to support you, and then your team. Like it's built on a support system that we don't expect you to come in knowing everything. This is what our job is to teach you. And we're here to support you to help you grow. And that's the environment that we foster.
So Zach, how would you say you leveraged your unique skills and perspectives from the previous life to going into the accounting world?
Yeah, so when I was working in nonprofit and human services, it was a lot of interacting with families and individuals in the community. It was also a lot of relationship building. So when I came into public accounting and I started working with my clients, I was able to have that transferable skill of relationship building and working with others translate pretty seamlessly. As I stated earlier, you're going to be working in engagement teams and you're going to be working with your clients.
So Zach, how crucial would you say that networking and really getting to know the people that you're around and building that team vibe is in the accounting world?
Yeah, networking is paramount in the accounting profession, specifically when you're talking about networking within your organization or with your clients, because again, you want to, as far as internally within the company, you want to build those solid relationships at the firm so that you have a village of people that you can go to whenever you have questions or whenever you need assistance with something. So the bigger your network, the more people you can rely on and the more resources you have at your disposal whenever you need things or you have questions about things. And then as far as the client relationships, again, when you're networking with your clients and you're building that strong network, again, it could lead to additional client work as well. So it's paramount. You always want to have a strong network. You want to always be fostering those relationships, again, whether it's internally or externally. That's because those networks are going to be sustainable and lifelong for your career.
So Clarencia, let's talk about the accounting specialties. What would you say are some specific realms of accounting that you've tapped into, and how do they differ?
So there's so many different avenues that you can take within the accounting profession. And what people are typically used to are you can go the public accounting route, or you can also go the industry accounting. And so with industry accounting, that's where you are like in-house for a company or a corporation. And one of the things I tell people, like I've been doing public accounting my whole career, so I'm going into my 10th year. And so it's kind of like all I know, but I do understand the in-house accounting only because I'm an auditor, so I have to audit the in-house accounting. And there's so many avenues that you can take there as well. And I think one of the things I like to highlight to people is you can work for companies that can be, so for example, your favorite football team. You can go and be an accountant for that. Or say, for example, there's a specific basketball team or entertainment company that you want to work for. Accountants, almost every company has an accountant. And so there are so many different avenues that you can take with an accounting degree that people don't understand. Like, it's not just a one size fit all. There's so many different things that you can do within accounting.
So for the both of you, what would you say are some specific situations and challenges that you faced within your careers that have really shaped who you are today at your job?
I said earlier how I like to be challenged. And so one of the things that I've been able to pivot into different roles. So I started with just audit, and then I added additionally doing advisory services within audit as well. And so that has brought on its own challenge because I'm doing different types of projects in different industries. And so I have to take a step back to research and make sure that I'm showing up as my best self, that I'm researching my client and understanding what their business is. And also in my role within technical accounting, that is a challenge within itself of researching to come up with the right answer. But it goes back to who I am. I love to challenge. I mean, that's how you grow, by challenging yourself and doing different roles. And so because I've been allowed the opportunity to pivot and do different things, it has been a challenge within itself by just switching and doing something different. But I'm able to grow because I'm doing something different each and every day, and I can pivot and do different opportunities.
Right. Yeah. So what about you, Zach? What would you say some challenges you faced?
So just being able to raise my hand and just asking to take on some of those more complex accounting errors has been something that I've been able to take advantage of. And then when I have, my managers and my partners also volunteer and ask me if I want to take on some of these complex errors, I've always, raised my hand and said, yes, I would like to take on that challenge, which I think it kind of speaks to two things. One, that those managers and partners trust me to be able to take on those accounting errors, and then also just believing in me to say, okay, I believe you have your skills and knowledge to be able to take on those errors. So I take it as a challenge, but also they having faith in me to be able to do those types of things. And then just being able to research and trying to figure out what I think the answer is, and then going to them and giving them what my thoughts and opinions are. And then we're having dialogue to try to get to the right answer as a team.
So in taking on more projects, more opportunities, would you say there's ever been a time where you took on a little bit too much? And how would you say you were able to deal with that?
When things do get busy and things do get a little overwhelming, yes, I have raised my hand to just let them know I do need some help. And I just look at it as a sign of strength to say that I know what I need help with and not being afraid to ask for help. And that's allowing those engagements to be done more efficiently because I know that I can't do it all by myself. And when I do need help, I can raise my hand and my teammates will help with those different tasks and things like that.
Gotcha.
And I would tack onto that to say it gives you an opportunity to develop someone else by giving them opportunities that were initially tagged to you, but now you can use that opportunity to give it to someone that is coming up in the ranks. And so, along with what Zach said, it just gives you an opportunity to develop someone else and give them chances.
So, Clarencia, can you elaborate on some of the skills you learned that have really opened doors for you, and some of the aspects like remote work or consulting or even entrepreneurship?
I would first start off with problem solving and taking a step back to help a client think through what is the current issue, but then going the next level with strategic thinking. How can we prevent this from happening in the future? How can we start game planning now and setting up goals and aspirations that we want to make sure that we achieve in the long run? And then with those, I would also tack on leadership. And so leadership can look different at all levels. When people hear leadership, they think of, the partners, the managing directors, but your leadership with your staff. You are leading our interns. And so at every level, we're giving the opportunity to lead and taking advantage of that opportunity. And lastly, I would say communication skills. Like you hear people talk about it all the time. You're interacting with people all day long. If it's your team, if it's your client, whatever, you're always interacting with people and having that communication skills to one, take a step back and have empathy, depending on what the situation is, and being able to talk through issues, talk through concerns, and help, think through how do we go to the next level? How do we prevent this from happening? And so I think all those skills together will make you a great professional.
Now transitioning into the advice portion of the segment, what advice would you offer to aspiring accounting majors or people who don't even know about the accounting world at all? What can they look forward to in this accounting world?
What I would say that's great between Zach and myself is that we've been able to pivot and do different things. And just having that experience and having that exposure, it gives you a different lens. Because one thing that we both have done is being agile. And so there's so many different things you can do. And just hearing our story, hearing other people's story can, help you figure out what you want to do next.
I would tell students who are thinking about accounting that accounting is an amazing profession. There's a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of doors that can be opened for you. And there's just a lot of different avenues that you can take with an accounting degree. Some of the things I talked about earlier, just the relationship skills, the people skills, that's one thing that's involved. The math, that's another component. But then there's also advisory, there's tax, there's audit, international tax. It's just a lot of different segments of accounting that you can find your niche. So I would just tell students to first identify what they like. What are their skills? What are their interests? And once you identify that, there's an accounting place for you somewhere. You just first need to identify what you want to do, what your interests are, and then from there, just looking to see what avenues you can take within the accounting profession, because in every industry, every business uses accounting. So once you identify those interests, there's a place in accounting for you somewhere within your interests.
And what advice would you say you could?
Well, I feel like Zach hit all of them. But I guess what I will add in addition to it is, to get out of the stereotype. Accounting is fun. Yeah. Like, we enjoy what we do each and every day, how we show up for each other, how we show up for our teams. Again, a lot of people think, oh, it's just debits and credit. It's so much more than just debits and credits. And, with the different industries you get to work in, you can work in oil and gas, you can work in retail, mortgage. And for me, a part of my career is being agile. So I've worked in so many different industries, from crypto, helicopter services, like so many things that people, when I tell people, they're like, wait, you got to do all that? Yeah. Yes, you get travel opportunities. There's so much that comes with accounting, and so much exposure, so many people that you'll get to meet, interact with, and grow and learn from. And so with that, I think, between what me and Zach said, we hit on why would you not want to do accounting?
Yeah, emphasis on that. Why would you not want to do accounting? So Zach, could you provide some tips or strategies that listeners can really focus on and enhance when trying to get into the accounting world?
Yeah, so as far as tips, I would just first say, if you know anybody in accounting in your personal circle, just reach out to them, ask them questions. If you don't have anybody in accounting that's in your circle, you can always reach out to your professors. You can always reach out to people on LinkedIn, and we'll be more than happy to just talk to you about our personal experiences.
So in reaching out to someone, how important would you say your personal brand is?
Yeah, your personal brand is everything. Again, when you talk about your reputation and just who you are, that carries a lot of weight in the profession. So you just always want to put your best foot forward when you're representing yourself, when you represent your organization, because your personal brand is really all you have.
Right. A lot of aspiring professionals in general should really hone in on that personal brand and making sure that they're cognizant on what not only their coworkers but even their bosses and even their associates know the mass and can see the mass. So, Clarencia, what would you say are some fruit for thought when trying to jump from one specialized department in the accounting world to a different one?
So first thing I would say, it takes time. It's not an overnight thing. But with that, there are steps that I think are best to take when you are considering switching and doing something different. The first thing is making sure that you have your personal board of directors. Talk with them about what you want to do next, why you want to do it, and make sure that you have the right support and you're thinking through why you want to do it. The next thing I would say is, making sure you have your plan of action. Like, how are you going to go about transitioning to that role? Because it's not as simple as you just go and do it. And so making sure you have your plan in mind. And then the last thing I would say, executing. And so go after what you want. Understand. And I would say the last one I would add to this is making sure you vocalize what you want. Because if you don't say it out of your mouth, people don't know. Like they say, a closed mouth don't get fed. And so just making sure that other people understand what you want to do, and again, that you have the right support.
And you mentioned the importance of executing. So what would the both of you have to speak to on the ability to show up? I feel like in this life we live, especially in the accounting world, that ability to show up is really, really essential. So what would you say you could speak to?
Yeah, so I would start. So for me, executing, showing up, to me, that's half the battle, right? Just being in position, being in the right place at the right time. That's generally the first thing to get the ball rolling. And once you show up and once you're in position, then it's just about showcasing your skills and abilities, showcasing your competency, and showing that you are capable of doing whatever the tasks are. So showing up, being there is half the battle, and then delivering on your skills and abilities to let the people know that you are capable. And then once you demonstrate that you are capable, then that's when you'll see more opportunities come your way, because you're in position and you're demonstrating your high skill set.
And I would add to that is not being afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Like that's something we haven't hit on, but it's okay to not get it right every time. But when you say show up, is even in the midst of things that you may get wrong, that you still continue to show up, because that's how you grow. Right. We all get things wrong. None of us are perfect, but continuing to try, continuing to put in the effort, continuing to put in the work, and building your skill set, because that's what we do each and every day. It's all about growing and taking yourself to the next level, and that's how you continue to show up.
Right. And then you really hit something very key, and that was being able to deal with failure. Mm-hmm. So what would you say you guys' perception on failure is?
For me, I would say failing forward.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, again, we don't always get it right the first time, but it's all about taking that opportunity to learn. And what did you do wrong, and not repeating the same mistakes. Like that's the key, not repeating the same mistakes. And again, fail forward, grow, learn from it, make sure you let someone else know, and teach them how to not make the same mistakes.
Right.
And for me, my thoughts on failure is that failure is a part of the process, right? You're going to have wins, you're going to have losses, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, but it's all about how do you respond to the loss, how do you respond to the failure, and how do you bounce back. So for me, in my career, times that I may have failed and may not have done things right, I've always just taken a step back. I've just reflected on what I did wrong, what could I have done better, and then when I'm in that situation again, try not to repeat the same mistake like Clarencia mentioned, and just learning from it, and that'll help you be a better professional. But failure is a part of the process. You will fail in your career, and that's a good thing. You just want to learn from it, grow from it, and then when you're in that position again, don't repeat the same mistake.
Right. So some final thoughts, final questions, and final remarks. How would you guys say that students can really connect with y'all and really learn more about your journeys and who Zach and Clarencia are?
So I'll say for me, LinkedIn. He had started talking about it earlier. A lot of people reach out to me through LinkedIn based on, I post a lot of what I do in the community, how I show up at Deloitte. And so I'm always talking with people. And so don't hesitate to reach out to me, send me a message. I always respond. And even if it's not the same day, I always respond. And so I love connecting with people that are interested in accounting, telling my story, and you'll hear from so many different people. Everyone has a different path. Yeah. And it's all about, how you learn from it, what you take from it, and how you can go and move forward with choosing accounting.
For me as well, I would say you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Send me a message. I'll be more than happy to share my experiences with you, answer any of your questions. So yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn.
So I want to show my sincere appreciation and thank the both of you guys for being able to come on this episode, share your knowledge, and really just impact the next generation with all the remarks you're able to say. Definitely want to give a special shout out to Accounting Plus for being able to put this episode on, and this has been a great episode.